I am finally back to reading. I know it's been a while, but I want to share some of my favorite of all time Black authored books. This is going to be a mix of different genres, and a lot of times when I talk about Black authored books, I'm either talking about memoirs or romance. Sometimes I talk about thrillers here and there, but I haven't read too many Black authored ones. But this is going to be a mix of, for everything that's just been tried and true for me that I will go back to and talk about and still want to recommend to other people. So these are my 5-star Black authored books, and I just made an entire playlist of all the Black owned books that I have reviewed on this channel, so make sure you go check it out. But let's get right on into these books. Starting off strong, this one is a book that had me in a chokehold and just made me fall in love with literature again. So if you have not read The Well-Read Black Girl, this is chef's kiss. It's so good. So this is edited by a woman named Glory Edom. She is the founder of the book club The Well-Read Black Girl, which started in New York, I'd say about 5 years ago. So she started it online on social media as just like an Instagram book club, and then people became so interested in it that she decided to make it like a real life book club, and then it has grown and grown so much over the years that they now have their own festival every single year. I believe they started in Brooklyn for the festival, and then they had it online during COVID, and then after COVID they moved to DC. So I'm not sure where their festival is going to be this year, or if there even is going to be one. But this book is a collection of essays written by Black women authors that all describe what it felt like to connect to Black literature for the first time. So they pretty much describe like what it felt like for them to fall in love with literature and why they became to be avid readers and then authors. And these stories are just so powerful. I literally read this book in a day because I loved it so much. And just reading about Black women and how they first started to see themselves in literature, it's just so good. Oh my, like I smile every time I think about it. I read this book at least once every year, and I hardly ever, I mean ever, reread books because I'm always trying to read the newest author. But this one is so good. They do have a part 2, which I will say I didn't like as much. I did read it. It's not called The Well-Read Black Girl. It's called something else. I can't remember off the top of my head right now. I wasn't too crazy about it, but this original collection of essays is absolutely incredible. There's just a mix of women from different sexual orientations, from different backgrounds, who all connected with literature in different ways and at different ages and stages of their lives. So if you have not read this, you should definitely read this. Like I literally love this book so much. It just makes me feel like comforted, like you feel like you're in a community of Black women readers, and there's nothing like it. So I love that a lot. So the next book is Vanishing Half, and oh my gosh, this book had me in a chokehold. I remember reading this book on vacation, and one thing about me, I do travel a lot, but I don't read that much on vacation, to be totally honest, unless it's one of those vacations where I'm not gonna do a single thing, which are few and far in between. Like I like to explore and adventure on my vacations. When I read The Vanishing Half, I read half of the book while I was on vacation, and it was so good. So it is a story about 2 women who are fraternal twins, and they were born in a small town in Louisiana. They were in a domestic situation where their father was abusing their mom, and they decided to run away, and the town they ran away to was New Orleans. So when they get to New Orleans, they start to work this waitressing job, and out of nowhere, the one twin who is white passing disappears, and she never speaks to her sister who is not white passing. She's actually dark skinned. They never speak to each other again. So the story is told in present and past tense. So in the present tense, you are following the story of this young girl who is, let's call her a young adult, and she is finding her way in life in California. And for a while you don't know how the story connects to the past tense, which happens every other chapter, and that follows the chronicles of these twin sisters and how their lives divulged after they ran away to New Orleans. So what I love about the story so much is that it really talks about colorism in a way that I haven't read about in any other novel. Just to give you an idea of what happens in the story without giving away any spoilers. So the white passing sister goes on to pretend to be a white woman. And because of that, she gets different opportunities. This also takes place in the 1970s. Ends up getting married and having her own family, and her life pans out to be completely and totally different from her dark-skinned sister, who had a child very young, ended up moving back home to their small town and having to take care of her family and really living a life of poverty, essentially. Not only is a total complete difference between the two stories and how both these women have lived their lives, it also connects to the present day because both of the women end up having children, and their kids' stories end up colliding at some point that, again, I'm not going to tell you because I don't want to give them any spoilers. But this book was so good. The reason why too that I think it was so just brand new to me is because I had never personally seen or known any black person to be white passing as she was described in the book, where this woman, like, you would look at her and be like, oh, white woman. But there are a lot of key points in the book that makes you wonder that, does this woman actually believe herself that she is a white woman because she's been pretending to be a white woman for so long? There are just so many questions that I asked as I was reading the story, and I think are really important in today's society, especially when we talk about colorism in the black community. And oh my gosh, I can't get enough. I tell everybody that I know, I like, you should read this. This is really good. And that says a lot about the book, because a lot of times I do not read books that are not contemporary. I love a contemporary novel. I love when a novel has technology and when the characters are using that technology. But in this book, it is very 1970s, so it's a good one. You definitely should read it. It's really, really good. Okay, next is My Sister the Serial Killer. So this one is one of the first books I read during the COVID-19 shutdown, actually. And I will say this one, the plot isn't all that crazy. It's not like the usual psychological thriller that I enjoy. So I think there could have been a lot more development of the characters, and just the plot in general could have been changed and twisted and flipped a bunch of different ways. Total disclaimer. However, it was the first time that I did read a novel where the black characters were very obviously black, and the plot of the story was a murder thriller, if you will, and it had absolutely nothing to do with police brutality. I love that. I'm like, please let us just write about something else, dear Lord. Oh my gosh, can we please just anything else, literally anything else. So there was a little bit of a love triangle mixed into this story, but essentially it's about a woman who is a nurse, and she ends up cleaning up the dead bodies of her sister who kills her boyfriends. And one of the men that her sister starts dating is someone that the nurse works with, and not only she works with, but she really likes him. So she likes him as a person, and she like wants to date him. However, she never actually expresses it towards her sister. And that guy, so the co-worker, is actually interested in her sister and wanting to get to know her, date her, and everything. So you really see the main character try to protect her co-worker from her sister. So it really creates those interesting family dynamics where it's like, do I stick beside my family because they're my family, or do I actually stand up for what is morally right? And not only that, but it also introduces black culture, but specifically like Nigerian culture in the novel. And I thought it was a really unique novel. I thought it was a really great plot line. Like I said, I think it could have been changed, twisted, and made a little bit more. It could have had like a little bit more, a few more red herrings, and also some juicy twists within the plot. But overall, I did enjoy this book a lot. I do tell people to read this every now and again if you want like a light read. I would honestly kind of characterize it as a YA if it didn't have anything to do with serial killing, but it is a pretty light read, and I thought it was really enjoyable, and I liked it a lot. So I would definitely recommend that book as well. But the next book is I'm Judging You by Lovey J. Ajayi Jones, and this one is so good. So I would characterize it as nonfiction, but it's not necessarily a memoir where you learn about the author's life from beginning to end. It's more about telling different anecdotes throughout her life where she's learned various lessons as a black woman in the United States. And it is just so funny that it makes the overarching message have comedic reliefs, because a lot of the messages throughout the book are honestly very heavy. So she talks about colorism, she talks about racism in the workplace, she talks about having family responsibilities despite wanting to go after your own personal career. She touches upon a lot of different important themes that a lot of people can take away really great knowledge from, but she does it in such a way that is so hilarious that you cannot help but laugh out loud while reading this book. I honestly thought she was a comedian when she came out with this book, but it was her first book. It became a New York Times bestseller. before. And then eventually she did release her second book, which was Professional Troublemaker, and that one definitely is way more of a self-help guide type of book. But the first book, I'm Judging You, is just like something that I would read and laugh. It's almost like you're talking to your friends while having a glass of wine and just like talking shit and enjoying a night out with your friends. So I love that one a lot. It's a really great read. That one I did remember reading on the beach, and I remember laughing out loud while I was on the beach and reading it. People were like looking at me like trying to figure out what I was reading, and it was I'm Judging You. So you should definitely pick that one up. Okay, next is What I Know for Sure by Oprah Winfrey, and I talked about this book in my celebrity ranking video a long time ago, and I've mentioned it other times, but I like this book because it's really a collection of essays written by Oprah Winfrey herself, where we get like a deep insight into Oprah's mind. And it really reminds me of 101 Essays That Will Change the Way You Think, where each one you read, you can probably read one right before you go to bed at night, but it just sits with you in a way where you have to look at yourself and do a lot of reflection to understand, you know, are you making the right decisions? Are you following through what you say you're gonna do? Are you living a life that's truly authentic to you? So in this novel, she uses the tagline, What I Know for Sure Is, and that just goes on and on and on, but it is really, really great. Like I said, it's another really easy read. I would probably read 1 or 2 before bed, maybe even like 5. It kind of feels like you're having a conversation with like an elder that you respect. Whether that be in your family or not, it's just a novel that makes you look at life from a bird's eye view as opposed to, you know, the day-to-day madness that you may go through. So I really enjoyed that novel by Oprah Winfrey. That was something that I found like on a random website. I think it was in a blog that I saw it, and I was like, okay, fine, like I'll try this out, see what it is. And it actually was pretty good. Full disclosure, I haven't read any other of Oprah's novels or books, so yeah, that's the only one I read, and that one I actually really did like. And last but not least, this one is actually a travel book. So you guys know I'm a traveler and I post a ton of vlogs on this channel, but this book is called The Catch Me If You Can, and this is written by the first Black woman to visit every single country in the world. So she goes to all of the UN notified countries, which I think is 195 in total. And this is my coffee table book, actually. So if you follow me on Instagram, you've probably seen it on the table. Every single like chapter, if you will, talks about a country. It includes different pictures from her travels, and it has like different side notes. So we have Finland, Laos, and she just talks about her journey and wanting to travel around the world. So it is part memoir, but it's mostly travel, and like I said, it's mostly like a coffee table book. This is something that I really read. I would like a fiction novel, but I do read when I'm just looking for a new place to go and wanting to explore and vacation. So I love this book so much. She did do a book tour when it first came out, and I actually discovered it on TikTok. So one of the videos came across my For You page, and since I purchased this book, I've talked about it on TikTok so many times, and people are still so incredibly obsessed with this book, especially when they see it. And she goes to a lot of countries that you may not even heard of or have even really seen or even popular, like Nepal. I do not know any Black people that are going to Nepal right now. Or what was the one that I last read? This country that I'm on right now is Georgia. And then at the top of every title page, it talks about the number of country it was, so how long it took to get there. So this was 165 out of 195, the time that she visited and the number of times that she's visited. A lot of countries she's visited multiple times, so I think that also really adds to the story and makes it unique, but also gives you insight about those different countries that we typically don't hear about. So yeah, this one is such a good book. I love it so much. I cannot recommend it enough. But if you guys like this video and want to know more Black author books, let me know in the comments, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.